I've been carrying this knife all summer because it checks 3 major boxes for me. It has a large blade, it weighs under a pound, and I have several steel options to choose from. And yes, the time has finally come to unsheathe and share my thoughts with you on Excalibur itself, the Architect Knives AK8. Yes, this is an 8-inch slab of MagnaCut. To date, I think it might be the largest MagnaCut steel blade. Don't quote me on that, but for my knowledge, it is. So I felt it was time to share my thoughts with you, and now having taken it on multiple multi-day backpacking adventures, including the solo trip I'm on right now, taking it on day treks, used it for preparing kindling and camping in the backyard with the kids, and all of the above, to ultimately in this video not only just share what a large blade like this can bring to the table when you need a man-portable system to trek into the outdoors, but also talking about MagnaCut in general. We're going to do some aggressive testing with this to see, can an 8-inch blade in MagnaCut really hold up, or is it better to go with like 3V or 1095 when we start getting into these very large tools? We're going to find out together in this video. It's going to be a blast. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm Aaron. This is Gideonstactical. Let's dive in. All right, let's get down to business with the blade being 8.2 inches overall. Cutting edge is 7.2 inches because of that choil. We're going to talk balance points, ergonomics in just a little bit. Now it's going to have, I would say, probably a 3/4 high saber grind. Perfect grind, my preferred grind on knives of this size range, into that very gradual draw point. Solid tip. We're going to do tip testing a little bit later. And the stock thickness is 0.187. The weight is 14.6 ounces plus the sheath. So under a pound for a knife of this size is quite impressive, but it does not slouch in the chopping realm. Now, it's not going to be an out chop, say 2-pound giant machetes, but for this size of knife, giving you a lot of reach to span for batoning, giving you a lot of chopping power as well and velocity because of the balance point, that allows for an excellent amount of delimbing and light chopping. You're not going to be Paul Bunyan, but you definitely can like fall a tree maybe the size of your calf and be able to delimb branches without difficulty. And then obviously splitting those larger logs was not an issue. Now the benefit, a big knife like this, we expect a lot of capability on the larger front. What about finesse? That's what's really great, is that 14 ounces allows for a lot of finesse that you don't always get with these huge front heavy blades.
I mean, it definitely can handle smaller tasks. Like it's very easy to use. I'm not pushing. I'm literally just shaving little pieces off. So I'm not pushing towards my hand. So I'm not worried about like slipping. I'm barely pushing. It's so sharp that you can just kind of get all this little stuff out of there.
Felt like you were doing it with a 6-inch knife and not an 8-inch knife. So the stock thickness, the grinding, the blade lengths have really been chosen well to accentuate the highest amount of performance that you can get in a knife of this size. Now, if you're not familiar with how Architect Knives works, what they bring to the table is something kind of unique in that there are many different sizes and the design stays the same, but you can build out the knife in a few different steel variants. You can do different handle materials and colors and different sheath materials and options. So there's a lot of variety there for you to really fine tune and build out whatever design you decide to go with to really fit your needs and your environment. Now, when I'm making this video, the 1095 tends to be pretty available, but MagnaCut and 3V kind of come in batches. There's a batch of them, they sell out pretty quick, and then you have to wait a while, and then another batch will arrive. So on September 27th, the day that this video is dropping, at 9 a.m. Eastern time, a limited batch of MagnaCut steel AK8s is dropping. So I'll have a link popping up here as well as in the description box below this video over to the Architect website, and I have been able to score an exclusive 10% off promo code that you guys can apply towards your purchase, not only of the AK8 but to any of the blade designs that are over on the Architect website, just helping save you guys a little bit of extra scratch. And Architect Knives did not sponsor any of the content in this video. Early in the spring, I requested a sample in MagnaCut so I could have all summer to really take it on many trips, put it through the ringer, see what a MagnaCut steel survival knife could do, and help you guys really get some good data and food for thought so that you could decide if this type of design and steel is the right choice or not for you. So they were willing to send the sample, and I have my affiliate link. That's it to you. But to give you a little bit of perspective, if you were to build out a model like what we're testing out here, looking at the ergonomics and sheath that we're about to look at as well, it would cost you about $340 for this particular design. Now you could streamline it a little bit and save yourself a little cash. If you add some accessories, it'll bring up that cost a little bit, and that's before my 10% off promo code. And I get it, when you start getting over the $300 price point, you really got to start weighing some options. But it really does come down to, like, what are you looking out of your tool, especially when we're looking at like high quality manufacturing. As an example here, we have a Lithuanian made TRC Polheim. TRC is an awesome brand. They do amazing work, super high quality in MagnaCut. This is a 4-inch knife and it's $350. This USA made Architect in MagnaCut is $10 less and it's twice the knife. So a lot of it just comes down to perspective. What are you looking for? What do you want in design and materials? But you are getting quite a bit of blade with the AK8. Now, a good blade has to have a good matching ergonomic handle. And the customization comes into play with the handle scales after the steel variants. You can get G10, you can get micarta, you can get, I don't know, more than a dozen different patterns. This is like a burgundy, it's like red on red. I really like the way it turned out. Really looks cool and stands out from the majority of the other blades I have in my collection. And it's not high vis, but it's not low vis either. So it really connects with me. I really like the patterns there. You got obviously that full tank construction, your 3 bolts through there, and you have plenty of real estate with my large size hands, which measure 3 1/4 from knuckle to knuckle. You can see how much real estate is out the back. We got that exposed tang with a nice lanyard. You will need a lanyard if you're going to do aggressive chopping, because there's not an aggressive bird beak, which means there's no shock points anywhere when you chop, which is great, but it does tend to want to fly out of your hand, and a lanyard is kind of a must if you are going to be using this for swinging and chopping, which if you're going this big, you're probably going to want to be doing that. You do have some jimping right there. You could do some pommeling if needed. You can stick your thumb in, do your reverse over grip. You can see there. Now it's locked into place all day, giving me a really good leverage point. Good thickness. I'll annotate that in because I kind of forgot, and I'm up here with no cell coverage. And then a good deep guard right there, really locking you into place. Now when you grip it on the handle, you're going to have a slightly forward balance point. The balance point is right at kind of the forefront, actually just right over the choil. So that's where the balance point is, right there. Very large, generous choil right there. Able to choke up, get detailed work done. On knives of this size, choils totally make sense, and I prefer. When they start getting like under 6 inches, that's when I'm like, why is there a choil on here? Now, nothing is perfect. All the scales are perfectly rounded, ergonomic, all that. Nice and full, doesn't cause my fingers to float, 0 hot spots. The jimping, because there's no coating on these blades, is a little aggressive for me. It's a little sharp, definitely leaves something on your thumb right there. Now, thankfully, when you use your choil, I tend to just rest my thumb and bypass the jimping. But if you do not, you can also kind of skip it. It adds aesthetically, but it's a little sharp. It would have been nice to have that dialed down. You could obviously hit that with like a buffing wheel or like a really light grit sandpaper, and dial that down a little bit. That is my only critique. I don't think it even needs jimping, but if it was, just to have it a little shallower and not quite as aggressive would have taken it to like 11. As it stands, it's totally a 10 in the ergonomic scale to use for a big knife. Now, the Kydex sheath is perfecto. I literally can't find a problem with it. We have a large pancake design with knives of this size. I have no problem with, and actually kind of prefer versus taco because it gives you more lashing points with such a large tool. We get adjustable screw right there so that when it's down, you can release. When you slide it up, now it's locked into place. Excellent and easy to use. Great thumb ramp to deploy. It's not gonna be loud. And you have a drainage hole down the bottom there, and then you can get it with all sorts of different backers, this one being a leather backer with a fire steel loop, but you could do Bladehq locks, Molly locks, I mean anything under the sun, or your own type of belt attachment. So excellent job on the Kydex sheath, and that alone is going to accentuate the value and transportability that this tool brings to the table. So let's dive into the MagnaCut steel itself, because we're seeing that the design is absolutely performing, and when available, you can get it in 1095 or 3V, well-tested steels on big knives. But MagnaCut on a big knife like this, what can we expect? Well, first and foremost, the edge retention has been wild all summer long, with hard impact chopping, batoning, carving all over the Rocky Mountains in the West, and this blade still has its factory edge on it. I have not had to resharpen it. It has not chipped. It has not rolled. It has held an excellent edge, so much so I can still, whoa, look at that, carve off my fingernail with this blade. So the factory edge is excellent anyway, and it has held for months now of impact, and that shows the level of quality in the steel, as well as Rockwell, that I'll get to in a second. Because I've only had, mainly small like pocket knives and compact fixed blades in MagnaCut, so I didn't really know how well it would handle chopping into a 2x4 over and over and over again. How would it handle splitting through knots and hacking on, knotted pine and that type of stuff for, tons and tons of trips all summer long. It has far and away surpassed the durability and edge retention capability. And that is in part because of the 62 Rockwell. This has a 62 Rockwell throughout the blade, which is actually a little surprising. I was expecting like 60 to 62, but to know that it's just 62 all the way through is showing that it has that balance of durability, but also edge retention. Now, what about the ultimate durability, torque testing of a knife of this length? We could see failures. Now, no knife should be used like a crowbar, but this is a survival knife, and we got to see how the tip holds up. And thankfully, with my 5-strike test, where I stab in and go side to side with some lateral torque, where other knives have failed, even some 3V knives that I've tested in the past, this one held up no problem. So tip strength, excellent, followed up by the weight hanging test. We haven't done this in a while. This is where I clamp it down and hang 45 pounds with a sandbag off the side to give it some really good like lateral torque to see, can it handle some of that weight and bending that would occur with all sorts of different impact, batoning, whatever. Passed with flying colors. Did not bend and hold that bend, flexed a little bit, sprang right back into place and didn't snap. So I was really on the fence with this size of knife in MagnaCut when I first got it. Really concerned, like, is it gonna be durable enough? Am I gonna have chipping? Are we gonna like snap it when we do some of these like weight hanging tests and heavy batoning? Because I haven't really seen it in this big a knife before, but through all of the testing, it has far and away surpassed my expectations. And if you were to ask me, would you use MagnaCut again on a large survival knife? Absolutely. I hope it actually is like, this knife is a gateway to us hopefully seeing more MagnaCut steel in larger knives down the line, as long as the Rockwell and heat treat are done properly. But leave a comment below. I'd love to know your guys' thoughts after seeing the testing in this video. Do you feel like MagnaCut is a steel that you would like to use in a big survival knife, or do you prefer older, tried and true, like 3V or other tool steels in your large knives? And the knife that probably gives us the most run for its money is the LIONSTEEL M7. Love this knife, midweight survival knife, size range. But you can see there with the 7-inch blade, it's still being somewhat dwarfed by the AK8. The AK8 is going to have at least an extra inch of cutting edge right there. This is Italian made with Sleipner steel. It actually is going to be about half an ounce heavier than the AK8 because of its thicker stock. I believe it's 0.22. It does have a broader blade, higher grind, so I found similar like cutting performance and edge geometry. Seems to be very similar with that. Full tank construction, great canoed handle scale right there, very ergonomic, feels very comfortable in the hand. Sleipner steel is nothing to balk at. It's a good steel between the two. Now, having seen everything that MagnaCut can do, if I had a choice, I'd go with MagnaCut just because of it seems to hold its edge a little bit better and more rust resistance. Not that Sleipner's like rusty, it's not from my experience, but good Kydex sheath. The Kydex on the Architect is a little bit better, but this is going to run you like 200 to 225. All the link popping up and below if you want to explore an alternative like this. Well, I think the footage speaks for itself. The AK8 design brings a lot to the table. On top of that, the MagnaCut steel in this big blade really outperforming the expectations is awesome. And this design potentially eliminates the need, particularly when you're looking at a man-portable system, to take like a hatchet and a compact knife. You could just take that AK8 and get just about the same amount of work done. That's me, that's my mileage. I look forward to hearing your guys' thoughts. Any questions that you have that I missed in the video, feel free to ask. I'll do my best to answer them. I do invite you to check out the other video popping up and to subscribe. Until next time, always remember to stay equipped, stay prepared,